Welcome to the Sentimental Twist.
Where two generations share one love for meaningful spaces and gracious hospitality.
I'm Brittany.
And I'm Melissa.
Let's gather around the table and talk home, hosting, and all things sentimental.
Hey! I always have to do that. Welcome to episode 7, everyone. I can't believe we only have 3 more episodes when we wrap this season.
They go by so fast.
They do. I am Melissa. You can find me at Home with a Twist on Instagram, Home with a Twist on YouTube, and homewithatwist.com is my website.
And I'm Brittany. I'm at Brittany Shepherd on Instagram, thesentimentaldecorator.com, and Brittany Shepherd TSD on YouTube. So find us there.
So our listeners don't know that you just had knee surgery.
I did just have knee surgery in the time continuum of y'all listening to the show.
Yeah. And your sweet, precious bestie, Anna, has been your nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looking after me.
Yeah.
Funny thing happened. She got jury summons for the week after my surgery. So yeah.
You know,
We're just making it work.
I just got a jury summons, and my neighbor across the street said he has the secret ingredient for timing it so that you end up not having to do it. Now, I want to say, if there's anybody out there who's a jury coordinator or in the legal field, we're not trying to get out of it, okay?
No.
But you have to empathize that the whole jury selection process is kind of like those pictures of skeletons sitting and waiting.
Yes.
It is a long day. And I would love to serve on a jury. I have never been picked. I've been excused.
Yes, every time.
Or I've gotten a message that said, we don't even need you to come.
Yeah.
So he said, I didn't really do this on purpose, but he's a procrastinator. And the last several times he's gotten a jury summons, he's waited until the deadline to reply. And then he ends up getting a message that says, we don't need you anymore. Like it's been settled.
Okay.
And so his wife and I looked at each other and we're like, we're the ones that as soon as we get the jury summons, we're on. Well, see, now we have it at home here in Fort Worth. And Tarrant County supposedly has gotten tons of awards for many years on their jury selection process about how organized it is. But anyway, the postcard, it's now a postcard. It used to be a letter, so it must be cheaper to do a postcard. And there's a QR code that you scan, and you're supposed to fill out the questions. But I don't have to go for jury's duty until sometime in April. So I'm going to wait until the deadline
to sign up
and see if that gets me out of So hopefully Anna doesn't have to do it, but maybe she can use you as an excuse to get out of it.
Yeah.
I'm taking care of a friend. Tell the judge, look, my bestie just had knee surgery and she can't be left alone.
Yeah.
Just defer it for the next time.
Maybe I should just go up there with her with my walker.
That would be fun. Right. We may hear some barking because the FedEx man just pulled up.
Okay.
So, all right. Now, we're getting ready to talk about a topic that you love that is part of your story circle.
It is. So, today we're going to talk about a little bit about letting go of sentimental items or items in general with intention. We talk a lot on the Sentimental Twist about home decor and items in our home and what we're bringing into our homes and fun things that we found. But I think releasing things matters just as much sometimes, and making space. And if you are a sentimental soul like me, that can sometimes be a hard process. And so when I talk about releasing things and letting things go, I do not mean it in the sense of let's declutter and clean out everything in a rushed, mad woman kind of way. I mean it in sort of a thoughtful, intentional process. For me personally, the experience of processing my mom's things and my grandmother's things, because my mom had a lot of her mom's things already, and then also cleaning out my grandparents' house shortly after that, has really taught me a lot about that process and how to do this in a thoughtful way that honors the item, honors the person, and also gives you the freedom to make a decision that fits best for you and your life. And so I see this a lot, especially in the Story Keepers circle. We do this in our community quite regularly together. And the one thing to realize is that even though it's meaningful and maybe sentimental to you, it doesn't necessarily have to be permanent in its physical form with you to continue to honor the story behind it. So just because something matters doesn't mean it has to stay with you forever and ever and ever. And that can be hard. It can be a struggle to process through that without feeling guilty, or feeling that obligation and responsibility behind things that you brought into your life. So, anyway, do you have any thoughts before I continue to share more about the process that we go through in the circle?
Okay, so I can relate to this in terms of in a couple of seasons in my life. One was with when my parents were still alive and they needed to downsize from the duplex they were living in to move in with us. But they kept a lot of things because we were moving into a bigger home because it was two families having to live together. But I know it was hard for my mom, we just couldn't take everything. And I know it was hard for my mom to let go of some things, some bigger pieces. If, we both had dining room sets, then, one of us had to get rid of our dining room set kind of thing. But and then after my parents passed away, I went through their things. And that was interesting because it was already integrated into our home. So it wasn't like I had doubles of something but I think they're like my dad's chair.
Mm-hmm.
I think my mom wanted to release that chair because it held so many memories. It was a push pull.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband, my dad sat there. I remember the first time that he was gone and I pulled into the driveway. He usually would sit in that little chair about the time that I would get home from work, and I could see the back of his little bald head sitting in the chair. And the first time that I knew he wasn't going to be there and his chair was empty, that was kind of hard.
Yeah.
So I think my mother wanted to get rid of his chair, not get rid of, that's not a good word. I think she wanted to part with his chair so that someone else could enjoy it, but that was a pain point.
Yeah. It
And it's
is.
not always getting rid of things because the person has passed away,
Right.
because we're gonna talk about that. So,
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Yeah.
that's
I
my
think,
2 cents.
you know, one of the things that I kind of have realized and through my process and then through helping with ladies in the storykeeper circle that are doing some of the things is like it is okay to give yourself grace to take the time and make decisions slowly and go through it more intentionally, whether it is just something that you feel like you need to clean out an area of your home, or whether it is processing someone else's things. It's okay to take some time, and it's okay to not know the answer of what you want to do. And so we I think the struggle isn't the styling of it, it's the deciding of it, if you wanna keep it, if it makes sense for this season of your life, and I think that's been one of the things in the ladies in the story keeper circle, things that were from their parents and grandparents and wanting to give them to other family members and not being sure if those family members wanted those items. So processing even that decision and how to go about doing that is interesting, but there's this tension of, like, I don't necessarily wanna keep this, but I don't wanna lose this, or I don't want the story behind it to be lost, and so that is a key component of what we do, but we have a decision-making framework in the Story Keepers circle that I walk them through step by step, and then we practice it again and again through when we get together on live gatherings, and then I have some resources for them to help them with it, and where they can capture the stories of the things, regardless of what they decide to do with the thing long term. Keep it or let it go, repurpose it, regift it. All the options are there. And then help them build like a system for story keeping and keeping those stories in an archived format for future generations, whether the item stays with them or not. So instead of starting with what to do and how to do it and where to take it and what to get rid of and how to get rid of it, start with, does this reflect who I am today in this season of my life? Is it something that I want to continue living with, the story behind it? Or is it something that I can let go of? Do you have a sense of obligation or responsibility that is holding you back from making the decision. I think that's
Yeah.
a huge one. And that fear of guilt or that fear of regret, even of letting something go. There's that process that you have to think through and ask yourself that question. And then maybe one of the most troublesome things to ask is, do I actually love this? Or is it just because it was sentiment or tied to someone that I love or a sentimental time in my life that I am holding on to it for. So there's a lot of an emotional process to letting items go that we don't think about. And I think a lot of like decluttering and organizing systems don't bring the emotion into the process. And so we do that in the storykeeper circle.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes the most meaningful thing you can do is say not yet and not do anything yet, and say, I'll come back to this later. Give yourself permission to come back to it later.
I think that's a good one. Letting it sit. What's the urgency that I have to get rid of it? Unless you just don't have any more room and you're just, you're living just where you can't even. I look at it from a hosting perspective. Do you just have so much stuff that you're afraid of
Mhm.
letting go of that it's keeping you from inviting the outside in?
Yeah. Or you're at the point where you have to buy storage, extra storage, rent a storage unit.
Yeah, and you're
So
paying
those
the
are some more
money.
timely decisions that you have to make. But I think when you do decide to let something go, doing it with intention doesn't erase the story. You can keep the story without keeping the object, and you can carry that story forward in a way that supports your life and your current season. And I think that's the heart of having and creating a meaningful home is not necessarily holding on to everything, but learning how to live with what fits, what matters most to you, and live with those decisions of honoring the stories, preserving the stories, but letting the item go if you need to. So
Right.
it's a process.
Yeah. Well, let's reframe the letting go. I have a
Mhm.
really good example, practical
Okay.
example. So, my mother had this really sweet kidney shaped settee
Mhm.
in her house. She didn't, I mean, it's not something that she's had forever, like her secretary that I have. But I think had acquired it maybe in the last 10 years of her life, maybe more. I don't know. And it was a cream color. And unfortunately, the dog got sick on it, and she tried and tried and tried to get it cleaned, and it just never worked. So we kind of lived with just putting a throw on top of it when it came to this house. And then at some point, I decided to recover it, and I recovered it this real pretty turquoise fabric. Well, after my mother died, and we kind of redid the house and kind of made it so that it was just a home for Mr. Twist and me and Phoebe. I didn't have a place for that settee anymore. But my friend Elizabeth Jones, who is the brainchild behind my party pantry, my
Mhm.
hosting closet, has an Airbnb. And she'd always kind of liked that settee. And I said, well, would you like to have that in your Airbnb for your guests to enjoy? And she was like, oh, knowing that it belonged to your mother, I would absolutely love to have that. So it has lived happily in her Airbnb for probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. So she called me recently. She said, I have something I need to talk to you about. I have bought a settee that I've had my eye on for years that I really want. And I want to switch it out for your mother's settee. She said, it's not that I didn't like your mother's. Obviously, I did. And I adored your mom. But I have wanted this thing in an antique store that finally I could afford it.
Mhm.
Do you want it back? And I said, yes, I would like to have it back. She said, okay, well, I'll have the movers bring it to you. Actually, what she said is, I can put it in storage in her storage until I decide what I want to do with it. So I said, let's do that. Gives me time to think about it. Well, about 2 weeks later, she called and said, I really need the space. Do you want the settee? And I thought about it, and I said, in my head, I'm seeing it sitting in the attic in the heat, unused. She said, I have a lady who would like to buy it from you. And I was like, "Can you give me just 24 hours to think about it?" So then I called her back and I said, "Let's go ahead and see if your friend would like to buy it." Mainly because I didn't have room for it. Yes, it was sentimental, and I remember my mother sitting on it, but that's really the extent of it. It was just because it belonged to my mother, and I didn't want it sitting in the attic rotting. So the lady bought it, and I felt very torn about it. I was like, "Ugh, it's a piece of my mother." But here's the sweet thing that I think we don't think about is that Elizabeth texted me. Let me see if I can find her message. But I just thought this, I thought is why this is why we this is why we part with things. She said, "If it makes you feel any better, Julie's mom is in hospice and she's dealing with that grief. She loved that settee so much when she saw it, and her eyes lit up for the first time I'd seen in a long while. And she's the kind of person who will love and take care of that forever. She puts special blankets over her sofas and chairs so if her dogs jump up, she doesn't directly touch the sofa. And she loves cats, little dogs, and baking as much as you do. She used to
Oh,
own her own bakery."
how sweet.
And I
Yeah.
was like, "You know what?" And I said, "Thank you, Elizabeth. It means the world to me that you found someone like Julie to love my mother's settee. I'm so happy you've enjoyed it, and now Julie will too. I'm okay. I'm a little melancholy about it, but I can't hold on to everything, and I didn't want it living in the attic. Going to live with Julie gives the couch a new happy life."
Aw.
So, you know, it creates space for new memories for someone else.
Mhm. It does.
And that's what legacy and heirlooms are. It's
Yep.
passing down to someone else who will really enjoy it. And maybe it's not you. I mean, you remember that era of Marie Kondo
Yeah.
where she was like, if it doesn't give you joy, it might give joy to someone else.
My problem is it all sparks joy.
I know. I know. So,
Yeah,
um,
but that's exactly the concept that I find, with adopting heirlooms. If you're letting something go, someone else is going to adopt it eventually because they love it, and the story continues with them. Or if you're adopting them, the story's continuing with you, and you're giving that legacy a new path to move forward. And you may not know the story behind it, but you know there is one, and now you're a part of it.
yeah, like when I
Um,
bought Miss Martha's recipe box at her
yeah,
estate sale, I was like, why do her kids not want this? Well, maybe her kids weren't cooks. Maybe that's not the part of their mother that holds memories, you know? For all we know, Martha just collected recipes and was a terrible cook and went out to dinner all the time. I don't know. But I have Miss Martha's recipe box now.
mhm,
That's what
mhm,
matters. It doesn't matter who
yeah,
has it, someone has it. So here's
yeah,
some practical ideas. If you take pictures of the item
mhm,
before parting with them,
mhm.
pass along items who you know will use and love them, like I did with sharing it with Elizabeth, and then Elizabeth found someone who's gonna love it just as much, if not more than me. And then keep a small intentional collection of instead of everything. So, anyway, there you go.
Well, that's cool, and then I'll tell about something in my Bless It in just a little bit that can maybe help you if you're in this space of trying to figure out maybe some specific things that have emotional weight, that have sentimental ties, but you're not sure what to do with. I'll share about a resource in Bless It in just a little bit. So,
Wonderful. Okay,
yeah.
we'll look forward to that.
Okay. I'm so excited about this next segment.
Me
Do you want me to
too.
intro it? Do you wanna intro it? Okay, so this next segment is so super fun, and I'm so excited for y'all to hear it. Today, we are sharing a conversation that Melissa had with Rachel from Happy Arranging. Look her up on the Instagrams, y'all. But she took her love of arranging flowers to a whole new level and put it in a book form, especially grocery store flowers. And so it's such a cool book, and y'all will talk about it in the interview. Melissa, you have her book. What has been the most helpful resource about? Oh, you're gonna share it. There it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than just being a stunning coffee table book, she worked with a photographer to capture gorgeous images. What I like about it is that it takes me out of my usual grabbing the same thing over and over
Mhm.
again. And you could literally take this or just take a picture with your phone of I'm going to go in to Trader Joe's and maybe I'm going to do, let's say I'm hosting a baby shower. She's got a baby shower thing here,
Cute.
and it's basically a bunch of white roses, mini carnations, white mums, white mini mums, and white spray. And she shows you how to make little arrangements with those. And then she talks about wrapping flowers, making a boutonniere in a teacup, and making place cards. I mean, she's thought of
Cute.
everything. It's such a great resource. I'm just so tickled we had a chance to interview her. And so let's take a listen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, everyone, I am so excited that we have with us today Rachel Weizel, who I started following on Instagram because your Instagram handle is happy arranging, right? Is it
Yeah.
happy underscore arranging?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Rachel is the author of this stunning book called Trader Joe's Flowers, Beautiful Bouquets with Trader Joe's Flowers, a guide to happy arranging. I just love it. And your claim to fame is that you can create a gorgeous centerpiece for about under $35 with Trader Joe's flowers. Any supermarket flowers, but specifically Trader Joe's, which in my opinion is the superior place to get your flowers. So I want to know from you, how did you get started in floral arranging specifically with flowers from Trader Joe's?
Yeah, I was working as a product manager in a healthcare tech company, which was definitely a lot less hands-on creative than flower arranging.
Yeah.
And I was feeling pretty burnt out and knew I needed more day-to-day creativity in my life. And I was feeling a little intimidated to go back to painting or something that felt like I really needed skills, but I was already buying like one bunch of flowers every week when I went to Trader Joe's. So I was like, okay, buy a few more. And I created an Instagram account to hold myself accountable. So it's like, okay, you have to make it and post it.
Sure.
And I started doing that. And then other people started to also be interested, which made it even more fun. And I guess the rest just evolved from there.
And so tell the listeners about your book and what inspired you to put your talents into print. And how did that whole thing
Um,
happen? Like, did a publisher reach out to you and say, "We love your content"? Like, that's a dream. So, tell everybody about that.
that is exactly what happened. I got a DM on Instagram from a publisher asking if I had thought about writing a book, if I'd be open to writing a book. It was not something that was really on my bucket list, but once they suggested it, it sounded like it could be a cool project. I had a meeting or two with them. I was lucky to have someone to kind of walk me through that process because there are a lot of things I just didn't know, because if you don't try it, you don't know all of those steps. So I was really lucky to have that guide, and yeah, it was really different than I thought and a really fun experience.
And so, did they provide you with a photographer that took all the pictures? I mean, like, walk me through how long was that process to write the book, and how long did you get access to a photographer, and how did all that work?
Yeah, so we had, I think from the start of from signing the contract till the book was published was about a little over a year. So it takes a while. I found a photographer I was excited to work with who was local to me. We actually did all of the photos in my 500 square foot New York City apartment, which is beyond bonkers. I have a neighbor who was so kind and let us like store some of the equipment in her apartment, like across the hall, because it was a really tight space.
Yeah.
But we had 3 photo shoots, which were very jam packed, and he is amazing to work with. So if anyone, big plug for Rick, if anyone's in New York and needs anyone, he is fabulous. And yeah, I did kind of 2 to 3 days before each shoot was a ton of prep time. I had a friend come over and help me clean all of the flowers because it was just so many, and it was one after the other. But that was definitely my favorite part because it was like the hands-on arranging.
Sure.
Um,
And this, I want everybody can get this book really at any book retailer. I happen to get mine on Amazon. But what I love about it is that you have divided it into everyday bouquets, moment makers, festive flowers, flower finds, monochromatic bouquets, and then you've gone into different resources and petal profiles. But the photography in here, like this, we're getting ready to come up to the end of the school year, and I just think this is a teacher appreciation bouquet. And look how adorable that is. I mean, you have just really put a lot of thought in the illustration. You did yourself, right?
yeah, those I did. That was also
I
a
mean,
fun.
this is a beautiful coffee table book. It's a beautiful book that you could also put with a gorgeous bouquet as a nice gift for somebody. I wish I'd lived local to you so I'd have you sign it. But tell me a little bit about, because you have kind of a unique way, 2 unique ways that you do your flower arranging that you'd actually teach in your online flower classes. So tell us about that.
Yeah, if I'm doing a wrap bouquet for a gift or want to put a bouquet really into one of those like classic vases that's like medium height and somewhat round, at least on the top, I lay the flowers out on the table. I make an X with two stems and put another stem in the middle, and then keep layering the flowers like that. And then when you pick it up, you end up with this really beautiful market bouquet. And it's so simple. When I want something that's a little bit more of a centerpiece, if there's an occasion, or even if I just have time and want to have some fun, if I'm making something either in like a cereal bowl or a more elaborate vase that has like a pedestal or something larger, I use chicken wire, which I put down in the vase first to help hold everything in place. And then you have a lot of control over how everything kind of comes together when you're using that technique. It's a little bit longer, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so everybody can go to happyarranging.com, and you offer monthly, a 1 month, a class a month, and it's digital. And I wanted to take your class, but I signed up for it during an ice storm. So I couldn't get to the store because we were stuck at home. So I'm going to redo it. Very nominal fee. You send everybody a supply list of what they need. And then you jump on board with everybody and walk everyone through how to create a gorgeous centerpiece. So if people are out, because our pillars on our podcast are hospitality, entertaining, tablescapes, using your heirlooms in unique ways. And I could totally see Brittany and I taking some of our grandmother's mother's pieces and transforming them into a gorgeous, gorgeous centerpiece that tells a story. So, and then you also offer, I think, a digital course, don't you? Tell me about that.
Yeah, that goes through 5 different techniques for flower arranging. It has kind of the basics of how to pick things out, how to clean and process them, and then it does the chicken wire, that flat lay bouquet arranging in directly into a short vase. It doesn't really need any of that extra support. And also it talks, I go through a lot of how to kind of curate the right bud vase collection and how to figure out which flowers go into those as well.
Oh, I love
Because
that.
it's super easy. It's almost like a deconstructed bouquet. So with a few small tips, you kind of can get that really impactful tablescape without too many flowers.
Yeah, I found a product on Instagram actually called Base Vase Base. I think that's the name of it.
Oh, cool.
And they're little tubes. They almost look like laboratory tubes that have rubber stoppers. And what they're designed to do is go down into a candelabra.
Oh,
So that you can
cool.
take your candlesticks or your candelabra and make them into a vase.
That's awesome.
If someone
Super
out
fun.
there is interested in getting started with floral arranging, what are some basic things they probably should have in their floral bag toolkit?
The number one thing I would say to buy are flower snips. You can use scissors or a knife that you have at home, but it's good to have something that's really dedicated to the flowers because they're going to be sharper. You want to keep them clean. And it also feels fancy. And I'm a big believer in like a one nice accessory. So that
Sure.
would be the one thing I would say to purchase. And then after that, really just pick any vase that you have and use it a bunch of times because the more you practice with one vase, the better you guys will get to know each other, the easier it'll be to kind of understand where to put things, how to fit things in. And if you don't have a vase, you probably have a cereal bowl, so you can use that. You can use a pitcher, like anything that you have
Or
can
a
really be turned into a
pickle
vase.
jar. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So when you go into Trader Joe's, do you already have in mind what you're going to do, or are you just waiting to like, is it a surprise and you surprise yourself as to what combinations you come up with?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's probably a little bit of both. There are some days where I'm making something for a friend and I know kind of what their vibe is and I'll walk in and I'll be like, "Oh, I want to make this." And I'd say it's 50-50 if I'm even going to find what I want. And then there are other days where I just go in and I'll start with whatever it is that I like and kind of keep building from there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a mix. You have to stay flexible.
I bet everybody wants to be your friend because they know that if you're coming to dinner or if it's their birthday, they're going to get an amazing centerpiece.
I do give out a lot of flowers for sure.
So when people get their flowers from home, what are some things that they're doing wrong that are going to impact the life of the flowers?
The number one thing I would say is you want to take the leaves off. You can, if you like how the leaves look, you can leave some on the top. You definitely don't want any touching the water. And I like to kind of take them all off of the stem because the flower's putting energy into keeping those leaves alive also.
Oh, good
So the
point.
bloom's not going to last quite as long. So make sure you really like the leaves if you leave them. And as soon as you cut them, get them straight into water. Sometimes I'll see, I think anything that you do that works is great, but sometimes I'll see people who are kind of trimming them and then putting them down and then getting them into water like 2 minutes later. And that's not ideal because air gets caught in the stem and then it can't absorb the water as easily. So you want to like snip and like plop them right in. But
So is that why our roses sometimes look really pretty when we buy them, but then they don't open? Is it because there's an air pocket that's stuck in there?
yeah, sometimes if you leave them like kind of out of the water for too long, there's like an air pocket, it doesn't absorb the water and it'll start to wilt.
Right.
Another good trick for roses actually is you want to give them a bit of a squeeze when you're in the store, and they shouldn't be too squishy and mushy. You want it to be a little bit firm.
Okay.
And you can also look at the sepal, which is those little green petals that are like right at the base of where the bulb and the stem meet, those like little green things. And you want those to kind of be pointing up and cupping the rose and not like wilting down.
Okay, because if they're wilting down, that means you're at the end of the life cycle of the rose.
Exactly. They're not going to quite be at peak anymore. And bright green stems is another good thing to look for
Okay, so
in
bright green
general, but especially with
stems.
roses.
And it's how do you spell that word sepum?
Um, Sepal, Sepal,
A-L maybe?
Al or El.
Okay,
That's
so it's sepal. I
not my
mispronounced it.
strength.
Okay, those need to be pointing up, and your rose at the base needs to be firm and not squishy.
Exactly.
Is there a way to force roses open?
It does if you kind of want them to be, you have an event and you want them to start to like be more open and they're pretty tight, warmer water, and then you can do that trick where you turn them upside down and spin them back and forth a little bit between your hands,
Okay.
and then blow just like as if you're blowing into a straw right into the head of the flower a little bit,
Okay.
and they'll usually start to freshen up pretty quick.
Okay. So a couple more questions. I love in the book how you have the color wheel. So explain to us why this probably would be one of the first things that people will want to look at when they're trying. Because I find that I just keep going to the same color scheme, the same old, same old. And I want to really get creative like your book is. So tell me how the color wheel plays a role in what you pick.
Yeah, I think it's whatever it is you like together, but it is helpful to keep a couple of things in mind. A monochromatic bouquet, which is all the same color, is almost always going to work. So that's like a good safe bet. If you want to start mixing colors, something that can be helpful is to kind of look at the color wheel and three colors that are touching each other.
Yeah.
If you mix them together, those will probably work pretty well. So if you've got like a red, orange, yellow mix, that'll look pretty good. It'll also look pretty good if you go in and go purple, red, and orange, which might be a little bit more of a surprise.
Right.
I do a lot of like purple, peach, like pinky mixes.
Right.
I've been doing a bunch of those lately. And if you want to do something that's really bold and dynamic, where like things start to pop, use two colors on the opposite side of the color wheel. So if they're opposite each other, everything's going to start to like stand out and feel really bold.
Like a purple and an orange, or a
Yeah,
green and a red, or an orange and like a pale green.
exactly.
Yeah. So what is your favorite centerpiece in here?
Ooh, okay. I think I've got two that are tied. So whichever
Okay.
is easier to find, either the purple one or the ranunculus one.
Perfectly purple.
Yeah, that one's one of my
I mean,
favorites.
that is stunning. Look at that.
And it's under $20.
So in this is got mini carnations, which I think carnations in general just get a bad rap. They
They're the best.
they
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 last
always
forever.
smell pretty, and nowadays you really can't find a rose that has a scent at all. But carnations always have that lovely kind of musty soft fragrance. They last forever. And I think they also you can make it look like a big mound of ice cream, or, they're just are a big snowball. I mean, they're just such a happy little flower. Remember that from You've Got Mail? And she said that she thought daisies were the happy flower. I think carnations and zinnias are happy flowers to me, because they're just so
I
petally. And
agree.
ranunculus and calla lilies, and that's all you put in here.
Yeah.
That is gorgeous. And then what was the other one that was your favorite?
The ranunculo one. That's kind of focused on ranunculus. I think ranunculus might be my favorite Trader Joe flower, or
It is
definitely right now
beautiful.
it is.
Yeah. How do you get them to last a while?
They actually have a surprisingly long vase life, I think, because they're a pretty delicate flower. The petals are really soft, but
Yeah.
they'll usually last for over a week if you keep changing the water, snipping
That's
the ends
another
each
thing we didn't
time.
talk about. It horrifies me when I see people get flowers, especially when I was working, and they would just set them on their desk and never change the water.
Yeah, I mean, I've been guilty of it, but it gets gross really quick, and it's going to breed bacteria. The flowers are going to die so much faster, and it
Yeah,
also smells so bad.
it does. It smells like something's rotting, and you don't want that smell when people are coming into your home. I'm trying to find the ranunculus one. Do you know about where it is in the book?
It's in, I think, the second to last chapter. It's in the
Well, let
floral
me just
finds one.
let me just look in your glossary. And I'm flipping through here, like bedside bouquets. I don't think we pay enough attention to putting flowers in our bedrooms.
It just like makes everything feel so nice and calm. It's one of
Yes.
that and the bathroom are like two of my favorite spots to have something small. It just like makes my everyday feel a little bit fancier
Yeah,
and just like
yeah,
nicer.
and especially if you have friends over, if they just have a little pop of sunshine in the bathroom, it just elevates everything. And we talk a
Yeah,
lot about that on the podcast, is romanticizing your day, finding little rituals that just give you a lot of pleasure. And I just love to go grocery shopping. I find Trader Joe's is my number one, but Whole Foods, not Whole Foods. Yeah, Whole Foods has a really nice flower section, and they will bunch the flowers for like 7.99. You can get just like a really sweet little posy that's small, but I think I bought it like 2 weeks ago, and it's still going strong in my bedroom.
yeah. I also Whole Foods is another really good spot when I need to mix things up. I They can be a little bit more expensive, but lately they've been having great sales. So when the stuff's on sale, it's often even cheaper than Trader Joe's. So if you're into grocery shopping, you can definitely shop around for
Yeah,
flowers
I
also.
you know, I find myself just every week I just go by, and if I don't see something that lights my fire, then I won't buy it. But usually I find something that's actually, if you have a Prime, like an Amazon card, you can get good deals. Okay, I wanted to show everybody
Yeah.
this ranunculus one.
Oh,
Look at
oh,
that.
yeah.
And that is the table that you do tell me about that table. Does it just have that design on the top of it?
It does. It's a marble table with some gold inlay. It is from Anthropology Home. I don't know if they still carry it the last time I checked, but I think it's called the Brass Starburst table if anyone else wants to hunt it down. I'm a really big fan, and I think because the gold is there, I don't mind if the marble gets wet because I'm like, oh, it's already has a design, so it's fine. It was one of those purchases that I never would have expected would have become so iconic to me, but it's now I can't get rid of it. It's a staple.
Absolutely. Well, Rachel, you've been a delight. Tell everyone again how they can find you on Instagram and on your website.
My website is happyarranging.com and my Instagram is happy_arranging, and I hope to see you there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rachel. Really, really appreciate your time today. And you've just
Yeah.
made life beautiful for everybody.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Good. What is one thing that Rachel said that made you want to try to do flower arranging maybe differently?
Okay. First of all, I just love and really appreciate how she emphasized that there isn't one right way. to arrange flowers. And I think that's what opened the door for me to start thinking about it a little bit differently and different ideas. Like you mentioned before the interview, like not just picking the same things over and over again. She talked about how sometimes she goes to the store with a plan and other times she just starts with what she's drawn to when she gets there. And, I have a tendency to gravitate towards the same things over and over again that
And
I
what
know,
are those same things?
I love the little hydrangea bouquet. See, Publix is what I have. I don't have Trader Joe's, so I don't have quite as much variety as like a Trader Joe's or another larger grocery store. So they usually have white hydrangeas. They usually almost always have that, and I always don't know how to say it.
Alstroemeria?
Stromeria.
Yeah.
And then they'll have seeded eucalyptus, other kinds of eucalyptus, and I think that's a great filler for everything. But I just loved how she said to be flexible with yourself and let the flowers kind of guide you. And so I'm going to do a little bit better about going in and maybe not with a plan and not to try to get the same things I get over and over again and be a little more creative. I also love how she shared the laying stems out in the X pattern.
Yes. Isn't that brilliant?
Brilliant. So
and if you
good.
watch her do that on Instagram, it is so transfixed.
Yeah. It's
how
so
she does
cool.
it.
Yeah.
And all of these things that she does, she says are under $35. Now, prices have gone up a little bit on everything, but for the most part, I can agree with her that you can, for $35, get a very gorgeous centerpiece.
Yeah. And I also like how she said, if you like something together, it works. And you know how we talk about that in our homes and decorating as well? If you love it, it works, it fits. And so kind of same with sentimental style as with flower arranging. So it just gives you a sense of permission to just experiment, I like that.
I'm going to really challenge myself to use a cereal bowl.
I know, goodness. A cereal bowl.
And think about how many cute cereal bowls we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple of things coming up, one in April, and then I'm doing another one when I launch this new thing I'm going to be doing. It I'll share. We may not be able to share it before we're done with this season. Making small little centerpieces with teacups.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm doing this ladies group presentation in a few weeks. Cool. And I'm having them all bring a piece of their heirloom china. So we could talk about, for time purposes, we don't have time for everybody to tell me why they picked that pattern. And these are a lot of older ladies, like in their 70s and 80s. I still think 70 and 80s young, but they've been married a long time. They've had those pieces a long time. And we're going to talk about, what made them pick it and, any kind of special stories behind it. But I'm going to pick one of the teacups and saucers, and then I'm going to make a centerpiece for them to take home. And that is so affordable. I think easily for 3, maybe 1 or 2 arrangements, you could make probably 8 or 10 teacup and saucers.
Yeah.
And that would be such a cute Mother's Day presentation on the table. So anyway, that's my takeaway. Yeah. Okay, now it's time for your favorite segment, Porch Talk Speed Round.
Yes.
This is where we fire quick questions, share even quicker answers, and let you take a peek behind the screen door to see who we really are. Do you want me to ask you the questions?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. This was one of the ones that you asked me to add. You're coming up on a spring break or a vacation or getaway. What's your go-to snack and bevy for a plane ride?
Well, I always fly Delta, Georgia girl, after all. Or almost always fly Delta. I don't always. I try to because 1, Sky Miles, and 2, Georgia. And they always have Biscoff cookies. And I'm always going to get the Biscoff cookies. And for some reason, I rarely drink it otherwise. Ginger ale.
Really?
I always get ginger ale on a plane. I don't know why. My brother does it too. Like, it's so crazy. We were talking about it not too long ago, and he's like, I don't drink ginger ale very much, but I always get ginger ale on the plane. And I was like, me too.
Do you think it's because your mom had y'all get that when you were little? And
no, my brother and I have never flown together in our entire lives.
Huh.
Yeah. We've never been on the plane at the same time. We didn't fly to vacation. Like most of our vacations were drivable.
Yeah.
And so it's just random that we both do that. So
ginger ale.
Yeah.
I guess in both of your minds, you think that is like a fancy soda.
I don't know because, I mean, I have ginger ale. I keep ginger ale, like, for drinks and stuff, but I don't drink it on the regular.
I usually have ginger ale for the purposes of if someone's tummy's upset.
That is when I drank it mostly as a kid,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah, or
So
sometimes if I have a migraine and just kinda want a little something to kinda settle my stomach, I'll go grab a ginger ale. Nothing like a good ginger ale with a cherry in it. Good for you, Brittany. What is Okay, we're moving on. What is your
okay.
favorite TV series right now?
Well, okay, so I've got 2 that I wanted to mention. When I had the flu, I had to be down, and I watched TV. I watched Bridgerton season 1 when it came out, but I never really, like, followed back up with it, and I don't watch TV a lot. I'm only really watching TV when I'm down and out for the most part, and so I ended up watching Bridgerton season 1 again and finishing the rest of the series that's out so far because about that time was when the season 4 second half was coming out or had just come out or whatever. So I watched all of the Bridgertons, and then right now Outlander's in its last season, and
Okay.
so I do watch Outlander because 1 episode is released each week, so I've been watching it as it releases. So
Do you like Bridgerton?
I do, I liked it, yeah. I love like a period, like I love a historical fiction, historical
Yeah.
drama kind of thing that has some actual true elements to real life in it. So I enjoyed it. I'm not much of a TV person in general. I
Yeah.
do like TV, but I have a tendency to watch the same things over and over again so I don't get sucked in. So
I'm
it
kinda
was
the
good
same
to watch
way.
something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll rewatch, an episode, like a new episode of something I've watched. I'll watch it at least 2 or 3 times because
Mhm.
the first time I'm not paying attention.
Mhm.
The second time I'm somewhat paying attention, and then the third time I'm like, "Okay, I'm putting down all my devices. I'm not gonna work on my laptop. I'm not gonna be on my
Uh-huh.
phone, and Imma legit watch it." But by that time, I've heard most of it. And I put a couple of series on whenever I just want something in the background,
Mhm.
and I've probably seen it like 50 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. So
Okay, if someone created a signature perfume, not a candle, because 'cause we've talked a lot about what your favorite candle scents are. A signature perfume, what would it smell like?
well, it's kind of funny because the the scents that I chose for that Storykeepers candle that I did last year are really scents that I like to wear as well.
Okay.
I love a gardenia scented
Mm,
something, and so
yeah.
some of my favorite perfumes have notes of gardenia and bergamot in them. So it would have some sort of bergamot with a little bit no, gardenia with a little bit of sweetness in it, maybe not a lot. I don't want it to be smell sweet. So, like, florally, but also sort of what is that? Woodsy almost? I don't know
Yeah.
how to explain it.
Musk? Not no musk.
Maybe I don't know. The candle was gardenia, sandalwood, and vanilla, and it was fantastic, and I would wear it as a fragrance, but it would probably have to be a little bit different as a wearable fragrance versus a home scent, you
Yeah.
know?
Uh-huh.
Um, but I like that my favorite perfume right now is Delina, which
Mm.
is really it's a rosy smell, and it's
Mhm.
very strong, so I only need a little bit. So maybe more it would be more floral for sure to wear, I think.
Okay. What's something you've always have in your purse beside your phone and your wallet?
Meds and lipstick.
I think people have to know the meds are for your kidneys,
Yes.
to keep your kidneys happy.
Mhm. I carry a very small purse, usually just a little crossbody that I can put into a work bag and then take it out if I'm leaving and I don't need my whole work bag things. So, in my purse is literally my wallet, my keys, lipstick, and a little pill box. So
Okay. All
mhm.
right. What was your childhood dream job?
This is a fun one. Well, I always wanted to be either an interior designer or an event planner, and I always wanted to buy a big antebellum house to host
Mm.
events as an event venue and then have a huge dish room that was full of vintage dishes that I could do the tablescapes for all the events and mix and match all the vintage china. I don't know why I didn't do it.
And how old were you when you wanted to do this?
Probably started probably about like 12 or 13. Okay, my favorite magazine, Southern
Gosh.
Living used to do Southern Living Weddings magazine,
Oh, yeah.
and it's so funny, like, of course I wanted to get married as a kid, but I devoured those magazines for the events and the decor rather than the dreaming about my own wedding, you know?
Yeah, that really fed into into your event planning
Yes. So,
dream job.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I almost did interior design school, but I ended up doing public relations, which is a really good fit for me as well. So,
Sure.
but
And you kind of
mhm.
ended up being an interior designer anyway.
Yeah, decorator at least.
Yeah.
So, all right. Are you ready for the questions?
Yes.
Okay. So, you're coming up on spring break. What's your go-to snack and bevy for a plane ride?
Okay, so I do enjoy the fact that they give us these quarter teaspoon snack bags of, the Biscoff cookies or mini pretzels. That's just not enough for me. It doesn't last. It's not an equal proportion to the drink they provide.
I
So
see.
I'll usually spend about $800 in the airport snack court or whatever it is, where you buy a magazine and
Yeah, uh-huh.
I'll get I mean, seriously, I'll buy a bag of salted almonds that
Mm,
easily is $20.
it's ridiculous.
And I have a bag of salted almonds at home that I paid $6 for that's even bigger. But, you can't bring stuff like, I don't know, would they let you bring a Ziploc bag of almonds through?
Don't think so.
Okay. Anyway,
Yeah, everything has to be bought. Well, I don't know. People bring their packed little lunches and stuff. They might.
yeah. So usually it's salted almonds, or some kind of like cracker, or maybe one of those bento boxes that has cheese and meat and crackers in it. Just a little something.
Mhm.
Because you're not guaranteed you're going to get right on the plane and take off.
Right.
Got to
This
have
is true.
sustenance.
Yep.
And then typically, if I'm traveling and it's not like a girls' trip or something, I'll just get like a Coke Zero.
Mhm.
If I'm traveling and there's like festivity and fun and I'm really wanting to get my party on, I'll pay for a little split of bubbly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So one thing that I like beef jerky and jerky, like turkey jerky. I have discovered it's not the perfect snack for a plane because when you open the bag, the
Oh,
smell just
smells like burps
permeates. So I'm like, I'm not gonna open that here. Okay,
or
never
an
mind.
egg, a raw
Oh,
egg,
okay.
or I mean like a hard-boiled
Or
egg.
boiled egg. That's
Woof.
funny. Okay, what is your favorite TV series right now?
You know what? There's a show that I have been really enjoying. It's in its second, no, maybe it's still in its first season. It's NCIS Origins. NCIS has been on for, I don't know, 26 years maybe. Started with Mark Harmon. The Origins. Have you ever watched NCIS? Okay, so you might really like this. Might be good something for when you're recuperating from your knee surgery.
Mhm.
Origins takes place in the 90s when Jethro, Mark Harmon's character, is right out of the Marines and
Okay.
he goes to work for, at that time it was called NSI, I think, and then it got changed to NCIS. But it's his backstory. It's the origin of his life and his relationship with his dad and the loss of his wife and getting remarried. And it's really, I mean, and it's got a lot of the characters that they had in the original ones
Yeah.
as younger people, like his mentor Mike.
Mhm.
It's really good. I
Okay.
really, really like it. It's a good one because 'cause I've watched NCIS since it first came on. I don't know that I like it as much as I did, um, throughout the different seasons,
Mhm.
but anyway, I like that.
Okay, good
Yeah,
tip.
check that
Thanks.
out.
Okay, if someone created a signature perfume for you, what would it smell like?
I like perfume that is very clean smelling, like you just
Okay.
took a shower.
Uh,
Philosophy has a really good
mm,
one called, Grace. Simply, I
mhm,
think it's called Grace, and there's Baby Grace, which smells like a baby's top of a baby's head. It just smells I just like really, really clean
mhm,
smelling perfumes. I'm not really I don't gravitate toward lilac, or I love gardenia in terms of like a candle maybe.
mhm,
I don't know that I could wear it.
mhm.
It's a little too sweet for me. For
It
on
is.
me, on
Yeah.
me, but I think it smells beautiful.
It's so crazy how perfumes are so different from one person to another, you know?
Yeah. 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 So
Okay.
I think it would have to be something that's had just really soap and water clean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Here's
What's
the funny
something?
thing. Here's the
Uh-huh.
funny thing is I don't think I would want a candle that smelled like soap and water.
Mm-hmm.
I want to smell like soap and water, but I gravitate more toward candles that smell like fresh baked bread or vanilla, lavender, herbal smells.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Okay. All right. What's something you always have in your purse besides your phone and wallet?
Okay, well, I usually have lipstick, but you said that. So then
Well, you
I'm
didn't
gonna
have to
go.
say.
I know, but I'm gonna go for then the next uh 2 things would either be a thing of Kleenex
Okay.
because I'm old and old people have Kleenex and butterscotch. I haven't crossed into the butterscotch
Toast
field
and
yet.
butterscotch rolled yet.
Yeah. And then the other one would probably be hand lotion.
Okay. That's good. Mine might be sanitizer too sometimes.
Well, yeah, I have some of that in my
Mhm.
car. I definitely
Mhm.
keep hand sanitizer in the car.
Yeah. All right. I'm interested to hear this.
Okay.
What was your childhood dream job?
I wanted to be a professional ice skater or a lounge singer. Now, I don't know where I knew about lounges when I was 7, maybe some of the TV shows my parents would watch, I don't know, but, and I have never taken an ice skating lesson. I cannot ice skate to save my life. I have I have really good balance when it comes to doing Pilates and yoga, but when it comes to getting on things that are moving, like a skateboard, roller
Mhm.
skates or ice skates, surfboard, skis, I have absolutely no sense of balance.
See,
So
I
it
think
is
you
a
would
real
probably have been a great ice skater.
Yeah, so it is a stretch to think that I could even be an Olympic ice skater, but that was gonna be my dream job.
I wanted to do gymnastics. Like, I grew up, let's say in 96 when we had
Well,
the,
yeah,
you
like
know,
Nadia Comaneci.
well, no, mine was more Carrie Strug,
Oh,
Nick
yes,
Luciano, the year they won gold when she did the vault and hurt her ankle. I was
and hobbled
12,
over.
11, 11.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it was amazing. I love that. Ice skater. Okay,
yeah.
good to know. Good to know.
Probably because when I was little, my mother made me get my hair cut like Dorothy Hamill.
Mm,
I had gorgeous long curly hair. Phoebe used to have long hair like this too, and, I think mother saw somebody with the Dorothy Hamill cut when we were on vacation, and she looked over at me and said, "When we get home, you're getting your hair cut like that." And I was like, "I don't wanna get my hair cut like that." "Well, you are." "Okay."
all right. I think that was a lot of experience. A lot of girls had the Dorothy Hamill haircut,
And
not necessarily out of choice.
no, and you have to understand, you have to have the right kinda hair to have a Dorothy Hamill cut haircut. And she lived in a cold environment, like ice skating, which meant she didn't get humidity in her hair. And I lived in the deep South where it was humid, and she wanted me to get a door. So anyway, it didn't work. It looked awful. I think I've thrown away any picture of myself that I come across where I have that haircut.
That's funny.
Okay,
Okay.
so now we're going to move on to Blush It I Had to
What?
Share It, where we share things that we're loving right now. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So in Bless It, we share things we're loving, things we've seen, and also things we're doing and participating in that we want to share with y'all. And so since we talked about letting go with intention, I wanted to share with y'all something new that I'll be hosting this month. So starting April 20th, I'm hosting a free 5-day guided experience called Clear the Sentimental Clutter. Yeah.
So this was perfect for what we're
I
talking
know.
about.
The timing just worked out perfectly to be able to share this with
Okay.
y'all. So it's a gentle step-by-step way to move one item. We're going to focus on one meaningful item and move it out of limbo, out of the, do I keep this? Do I let this go? What do I do with this limbo? So we're not going to rush it. It's not going to be pressure filled. It's not going to be a decluttering challenge, but it's being able to take the next right step, make one meaningful decision, and not have to worry about all the things in your home all at once. So each day it's going to be an email and with an accompanying video, along with some prompts for you so you can think through that one piece with some clarity and some direction. And if you've ever felt stuck between keeping something and letting it go, it's kind of for that exact moment, like, oh, I'm stuck with this item. I don't know what to do with it. You'll also get a few resources that I've created for the Storykeeper Circle by joining the challenge. It's not really a challenge. It's just more of a guided 5-day series, if you will. But you'll get a sentimental inventory and some story cards that I have created for the Storykeeper Circle. And that helps you kind of hold the stories that matter, even if you aren't making decisions about those specific items. For those of you who go through it, you'll invited to join the next opening of the Storykeeper Circle a little bit earlier. And I hope that it'll be it's a process. It's my decision-making process, my kind of framework for moving one item from I'm not sure how to handle this, what to do with it, to more clarity about what to do with it. And you can keep going with that, using that process over and over again if you have other items to walk through. Or you can join us in the circle where we do that together in a group of like-minded women.
How
So
exciting, Brittany. That is great.
it's going to be, I wanted to make it email so people could go at their own pace and not have
Sure.
to worry about it. But then you'll have that resource available to you at any time. And then, it'll be something that I hope is helpful if you are struggling with some of those sentimental things about knowing what to do with it and feeling maybe weighed down by that decision. So I'll put the link in the show notes on how to sign up for the free 5-day Clear the Sentimental Clutter.
And that starts when?
April 20th. So
Okay.
that's a Monday. The emails start that Monday, and there'll be one email each day with the accompanying
So
video.
they'll need the best way to do it is either to follow your journey on Instagram because you'll be announcing it there, or to go ahead and go to your sentimentaldecorator.com.
It'll be on there. And then I'll put the link in the show notes here as well. So you can jump in that way. But
I love that.
yeah.
I love that.
It's been something, I created the framework myself as I was walking through things and didn't really realize it was actually a step-by-step process until I put it on paper on how I deal with things. And then I did it with the ladies and the Storykeeper Circle early on, and they just found it very helpful for some specific items that they were trying to figure out what to do with. And I decided it might be a great way to introduce people to what we do in the Storykeeper Circle and help with one specific thing that makes you feel a little bit lighter when you make a decision related to that. So, yeah.
That's great. That's going to be really useful. Okay, so my blessed I had to share it is an email we got in our Sentimental Twist podcast.
Fun.
And I just had to share it. I just thought it was so precious. Okay, this is from Rhonda in Round Rock, which is near Austin. Okay. She says, "Hello, girls. I'm on spring break this week, and as I've been knocking out the errands, I've restarted the podcast just because I love it so much,
Aw.
and it's such a pleasant listen. I was revisiting season 1, episode 2, where Brittany talks about peanut farming. We've talked about peanut farming a lot, and it reminded me I never shared my sweet story. We lived in Tyler in East Texas for a few years when our children were elementary school age. And one of our elderly cul-de-sac neighbors, love the older neighbors, don't you? Oh,
They're the best.
grew all sorts of things in his huge backyard. Peanuts were one of them. And we'd never seen them grown before. He used to pull rolling rack after rolling rack of the plants out front to dry in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And he invited our children to help pick them when they were ready.
Mm-hmm.
We came home with bags of them, fresh, homegrown peanuts, nothing like them. Also, Brittany, my mom was treated at the same cancer center in Arlington.
Oh.
We're from Grand Prairie, the neighboring city, so it was convenient. Once when I was in middle school, when she had breast cancer, and then again for leukemia when I was a young wife and mother. The chemo for leukemia ultimately took her life when I was 30 because of the stress it put on her heart. I feel a connection with you for sure, but the care she received both times was stellar, and I remember feeling deeply cared for there, as well as a very scared only child daughter. Love you both in the podcast, Rhonda."
That's so sweet. I wonder if it was Dr. Dickey that was her doctor, because he
I
was
don't
the
know.
best, is the best.
She will be listening, and I'm sure we'll weigh in to let you know if it was. So I just thought that was really sweet. It's time to close the show with closing sentiment. So, Brittany, that's you this week.
It's me this week. So we always close the show with a toast. We call it a toast to sentiment, but it's when we share something on our hearts. It might be a sentimental quote. It might be a poem, a reading. It might just be something that we've been thinking about that kind of, reverberates from the things we talked about today. But I am going to share this short piece from Grace Notes by our lovely Alexandra Stoddard. This one is like daily. She has daily little quotes and then little things to remember. So I randomly opened August, and this one is actually talking about parenting.
It's so funny because I have all of these sitting right here.
I have almost all of those.
And my blessed for next week is an Alexander Stoddard. I know.
Great minds think alike.
I know.
Okay. So this is in this book, it's a daily notes of grace for each day. And then at the beginning of each season, she has a little reading or something for each season. So I'm going to read. This is called My Symphony of Life by William Henry Channing. And this is the opening note for spring. Okay. So let me read it. I don't know. Were you ever nervous when you had to read out loud at school?
Of course not.
Okay.
I wanted to be a lounge singer. Of course not.
That's true.
Gosh.
Okay. My Symphony of Life. To live content with small means, to seek elegance rather than luxury, and refinement rather than fashion. To be worthy, not respectable, and wealthy, not rich. To study hard, think quietly, talk gently, act frankly. To listen to stars and birds, to babes and sages with open heart. To bear all cheerfully, do all bravely, await occasions, hurry never. In a word, to let the spiritual, unbidden, and unconscious grow up through the common. This will be my symphony. So I really love that part about letting the spiritual grow up through the common. And that's just such to look at ordinary days and ordinary moments as little God winks and gifts that life is ordinary,
And that's our mantra in this, is to take the ordinary and romanticize it and make it beautiful and momentous, because we're never promised tomorrow.
Yeah, never. And I truly love this because I love the part that says to be worthy. Well, I like this. To seek elegance rather than luxury.
Yes.
And refinement rather than fashion. To be worthy, not respectable. And wealthy, not rich.
Yes.
I thought that's really good.
Wealthy,
so there's a whole lot.
Yes, wealthy in friendship and wealthy in the good deeds that we do for others and service and looking at, trying to be joyful.
Yeah.
I love
that. So
let's
raise a little toast.
Yes.
What am I going to say? To a kind of life that is, what do we talk about? Imperfectly perfect.
Yes. Whimsical.
Whimsical.
Yeah. Cheers, my friend.
And loving the everyday.
That's right. What's in your glass?
Just water.
Just water. That's what I have too.
Yeah. Well, y'all.
Okay. That's all for today's episode of The Sentimental Twist. We hope that you will follow, share our podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can watch it on both mine and Brittany's YouTube channels. We love it when you give us feedback. And we also have the survey that's still out there, I think. I'm not sure. I may have taken it down.
I put it on every show notes just in case.
Okay, great. Fill that out and let us know if there's things topics you'd like for us to discuss. And it's funny, I know we've talked about this before, is that most people will watch us on YouTube, especially because they want to see our show and tell.
Yeah.
You can follow me at Home with a Twist on Instagram, homewithatwist.com, and Home with a Twist on YouTube.
And I am at Brittany Shepherd on Instagram, Brittany Shepherd TSD on YouTube, and thesentimentaldecorator.com.
So thanks for joining us on The Sentimental Twist,
where we believe every space tells a story,
and every story deserves a place at the table. Until next time,
keep things cozy, collected, and a little bit sentimental.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.